He gave her his blood to heal. Now her people think he's her mate. The emergency transfusion mining colony on Zarian Prime was supposed to be routine maintenance for Dr. Marcus Kane, as the lead xenobiologist aboard the human medical vessel Prometheus. He had seen his share of alien physiology emergencies, but nothing prepared him for the frantic distress call from the joint mining operation. Medical emergency in Sector 7. Came the crackling transmission. Zephyrian ambassador down. Repeat. Ambassador Velana is critical. Marcus rushed through the sterile corridors of the medical bay, his mind racing through everything he knew about Zephyrian anatomy. The tall, elegant beings from the Andromeda sector were notoriously private about their biology. Their crystalline blue skin and silver blood had fascinated xenobiologists for decades, but practical medical knowledge remained limited. The transport shuttle barely had time to dock before Marcus was running toward the mining facility's emergency center. The scene that greeted him was chaos. Human miners stood helplessly around a medical table where Ambassador Velana lay unconscious, her normally radiant blue skin fading to a dull gray. What happened? Marcus demanded. Immediately scanning her vital signs with his portable medical equipment, Chief Engineer Roberto Martinez stepped forward, his face grim. Atmospheric processor malfunction, toxic gas leak. The humans got out fine with our breathing apparatus, but she ... He gestured helplessly. Her respiratory system is completely different. The toxins are crystallizing in her bloodstream. Marcus watched in horror as his scanners revealed the extent of the damage. Velana's silver blood was literally turning to crystal, clogging her circulatory system. Her elegant features, usually so composed during diplomatic meetings, were twisted in unconscious pain. We tried everything, reported the facility's medical technician, James Wong. Standard detoxification protocols, oxygen therapy, even experimental chelation treatments. Nothing's working. Her blood chemistry is completely incompatible with our medical procedures. Marcus studied the readouts, his mind working frantically. The crystallization process was accelerating. In less than an hour, Velana's entire circulatory system would be solid crystal. He had seen similar effects in laboratory studies of Zephyrian blood samples exposed to certain compounds, but never in a living being. There might be one option, he said quietly, already reaching for his emergency transfusion kit. Human blood has natural anticoagulants and iron compounds that could potentially dissolve the crystal formations. Are you insane? Wong protested. Cross-species transfusion could kill her faster than the toxins. She's dying anyway, Marcus replied, his hands steady as he prepared the transfusion line. In our blood compatibility studies, we found that human hemoglobin can interact with Zephyrian silver cells under certain conditions. He looked down at Velana's face, remembering their previous diplomatic encounters. She had always been gracious, intelligent, and genuinely curious about human culture. The thought of losing her to such a preventable accident was unbearable. Ambassador, he whispered, taking her cool hand in his. I'm going to try something. Trust me. Her violet eyes fluttered open briefly, focusing on his face with an expression of complete faith that made his heart skip. I trust you, Dr. Kane, she managed to whisper before losing consciousness again. Marcus established a transfusion connection, watching nervously as his red blood began mixing with her silver circulation. The monitors showed immediate changes where his blood reached the crystallized areas. The formations began dissolving, returning to liquid state. It's working, Wong breathed in amazement. Her blood pressure is stabilizing, but something else was happening. As the transfusion continued, Velana's skin began glowing with an inner light Marcus had never seen before. Her breathing deepened, and a strange humming sound emanated from her throat, almost like singing. What's that sound? Martinez asked nervously. Marcus could only shake his head, mesmerized by the transformation occurring before them. The emergency was over, but something far more significant had begun. When the transfusion was complete, Velana's eyes opened fully, She looked directly at Marcus with an expression of wonder and something deeper that made his pulse quicken. "By the crystal eternal," she whispered, "what have we done?" Part 2. The revelation 3 days after the emergency transfusion. Ambassador Velana had made a complete recovery. Her crystalline blue skin glowed with renewed health, and she moved with her characteristic grace through the mining facility. But Marcus noticed something different in her behavior. She watched him constantly, with those mesmerizing violet eyes, and whenever their hands accidentally touched during routine medical checkups, he felt an electric sensation he couldn't explain. "Dr. Kane." Velana approached him in the medical bay, her voice carrying a formal tone that seemed forced. "I must speak with you privately about the procedure you performed." Marcus gestured to his office, closing the door behind them. "How are you feeling? Any lingering effects from the toxin exposure?" "The toxins are completely eliminated," she replied, but her expression grew troubled. "However, there are complications you could not have foreseen." She moved to the viewport, gazing out at the stars with apparent nervousness. "Among my people, the sharing of life essence through blood is not merely medical treatment. It is theranos, the sacred bonding of souls." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "Bonding? What exactly does that mean?" Velana turned to face him, her luminescent skin seeming to pulse with inner light. "When a Zephyrian accepts another being's blood into their system, it creates an unbreakable connection. In our culture, this only occurs between life partners who choose to merge their very essence." "But that was an emergency medical procedure," Marcus protested, running his hands through his hair. "I was trying to save your life. Intent is irrelevant to the biological process," Velana said softly. "Your blood now flows within me permanently. Our cellular structures have merged at a quantum level. By Zephyrian law and biology, we are now Theramala, bonded mates." The weight of her words hit Marcus like a physical blow. "Bonded mates, but we're different species. How is that even possible?" Velana's expression softened, revealing vulnerability beneath her diplomatic composure. The compatibility was unprecedented. "Our scientists theorized it might be possible with certain species, but you are the first non-Zephyrian to successfully bond with one of us." Marcus sank into his chair, trying to process the implications. "What does this mean practically, for both of us?" "For me, it means I am forever connected to you. I can sense your emotions, your physical state, even your location across vast distances." She paused, her cheeks taking on a deeper blue tint. "And there are other changes beginning to manifest." "What kind of changes?" Velana placed her hand over her abdomen in a protective gesture that made Marcus's heart stop. "The bonding process triggered reproductive compatibility. I am carrying a child, Marcus." "Our child?" The room seemed to spin around Marcus. "That's impossible. Cross-species reproduction doesn't work that way." "Not for most species," Velana agreed, "but the Theranos bond creates cellular harmony between partners. Your human DNA has somehow merged with my Zephyrian genetics to create something entirely new." Marcus stared at her, his mind reeling. "A hybrid child, the first of its kind, yes, and this development will not remain secret long. I have already sent word to my homeworld about my recovery, though I have not yet mentioned the bonding. When my people learn what has occurred... double quotes, she trailed off, looking worried. "What will happen?" "Zephyrian society is built around the sanctity of the Theranos bond. When they discover that a human has become my bonded mate, it will change everything. Some will celebrate it as a miracle, proof that our species are destined to unite, and others..." Velana's expression darkened. "Others will see it as an abomination. There are factions among my people who believe we should remain isolated from all other species. The news that their ambassador has bonded with a human and carries a hybrid child could spark civil war." Marcus stood and moved to the viewport, watching the stars that suddenly seemed much more dangerous. "So what do we do?" "We must travel to Zephyros Prime together," Velana said firmly. "As my bonded mate, You now have diplomatic status among my people. But Marcus, you must understand the gravity of this situation. Once we arrive, there will be no turning back. The bond cannot be broken. Marcus turned to study her face, seeing the mix of hope and fear in her violet eyes. And if I refuse to go, then I will be considered a traitor to my people, and our child will be branded as an outcast before it is even born. Her voice broke slightly. But I will not force this path upon you. The choice must be yours. Marcus looked at this remarkable woman who had entered his life so unexpectedly. 3 days ago, he had been a simple xenobiologist. Now he was apparently the bonded mate of an alien ambassador, about to become a father to the first human Zephyrian hybrid. When do we leave? He asked quietly. Journey to Zephyros Primeth, diplomatic vessel Stellar Harmony, was unlike any ship Marcus had ever seen. Its crystalline hull seemed to be grown rather than built, with organic curves that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as they departed. The mining colony. Marcus stood in the observation deck, watching human space shrink behind them. Captain Nix Valorian, Velana's chief security officer, approached with obvious concern. Dr. Kane, I must speak plainly. What you are undertaking is unprecedented and dangerous. Marcus turned to face the tall Zephyrian officer. Like all of her species, Nix had the characteristic blue-tinted skin and silver hair, but her bearing was unmistakably military. I'm beginning to understand that. No, I don't think you truly comprehend the magnitude of this situation, Nix continued. The Tharanos bond is sacred to our people, but it has never occurred with an outsider. There are those who will view your very existence as a threat to our racial purity. And you, what do you think? Nix was quiet for a moment, studying Marcus with calculating eyes. I have served as Ambassador Velana's protector for 7 years. I have never seen her as content as she has been these past days. The bond has brought her a peace I did not know she lacked. Marcus felt a warmth in his chest that he was beginning to recognize as his connection to Velana. She was currently in her quarters, resting, but he could sense her emotional state through their mysterious link. The bond is real, isn't it? He asked. This isn't just some cultural misunderstanding. More real than you know, confirmed Dr. Zeon Christia, the ship's medical officer, joining their conversation. I have been monitoring both of your biologies since departure. Your cellular structures are continuing to merge at a quantum level. Marcus looked at his hands, which had begun showing faint blue traceries beneath the skin. Is that why I can feel what she feels? The empathic connection is only the beginning, Dr. Christia explained. Your human physiology is adapting to accommodate the bond. Within a few months, you will be able to survive in Zephyrian atmospheric conditions without life support, and the child developing normally. Though its genetic structure is fascinating, it appears to be inheriting the best traits of both species: enhanced intelligence from the Zephyrian side, adaptability and resilience from the human side. Captain Nix's expression grew serious, which is why there are those who will want to destroy it. A being with the strengths of both our species could upset the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. What kind of opposition are we facing? High Counselor Zeris Titanium of the isolationist faction, Nix replied. He has been arguing for decades that contact with other species weakens Zephyrian purity. Your bonding with Velana gives him the perfect excuse to call for complete xenophobic policies. On the other hand, Dr. Christia interjected, Prime Minister Lyra Stardust represents the progressive faction. She believes the bonding proves that Zephyrians are meant to form alliances with compatible species. Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of galactic politics settling on his shoulders. So our relationship could determine the future of human-Zephyrian relations. More than that, Captain Nix said grimly. It could determine whether the Zephyrian Republic opens its borders to the galaxy, closes them forever. That evening, Marcus found Velana in the ship's biogarden, a vast chamber filled with crystalline plants that glowed softly in the artificial twilight. She was seated beside a fountain that sang with musical water sounds, her hand resting on her still flat abdomen. "You're worried," she said without turning around, their bond allowing her to sense his approach and emotional state. "Shouldn't I be?" Marcus settled beside her on the crystal bench. "According to your people, we're about to walk into a political firestorm that could reshape interstellar relations." Velana leaned against his shoulder, and Marcus marveled at how natural the gesture felt, despite their different physiologies. "Do you regret saving my life?" "Never," Marcus replied immediately. "But I wish I had understood the consequences. Would it have changed your decision?" Marcus considered this carefully. Over the past week, he had felt more alive and connected than ever before in his life. The bond with Velana had awakened something in him he hadn't known was missing. "No," he said. "Finally, I would have made the same choice." Velana smiled, her skin glowing brighter with contentment. "Then we face whatever comes together. The bond makes us stronger than either of us could be alone." "I hope you're right," Marcus murmured, watching the bioluminescent plants pulsing, rhythm with their heartbeats. "Because something tells me we're going to need all the strength we can get." Through the garden's transparent ceiling, the stars seemed to pulse with anticipation as they approached the heart of Zephyrian space. The Council of Judgment Zephyros Prime hung before them like a living jewel, its crystalline cities glowing with soft light against the planet's naturally luminescent atmosphere. Marcus pressed his face to the viewport, amazed by the organic architecture that seemed to grow from the planet's surface rather than being constructed. "It's beautiful," he breathed. "And dangerous," Velana replied, joining him at the observation window. "See those ships maintaining formation around us?" Marcus noticed the escort of sleek Zephyrian vessels that had appeared as they entered the system, honor guard. "House arrest," Captain Nix corrected grimly as she approached. "High Counselor, Xeris has invoked the ancient protocols. You and Velana are to be brought directly before the Council of Judgment." "What does that mean?" Marcus asked, though the sinking feeling in his stomach suggested it wasn't good news. "It means they're treating your bonding as a potential crime against the state," Dr. Christia explained. "The Council will determine whether your union is legitimate or an abomination to be dissolved." Marcus felt Velana's hand slip into his, her touch steadying him through their bond. "Can they actually dissolve it?" "They can try," Velana said quietly. "But the Tharanos bond has never been successfully broken. The attempt alone could kill us both." The landing at the capital city's diplomatic center was tense. Hundreds of Zephyrians had gathered to witness their arrival, their reactions clearly divided. Some held crystalline flowers in celebration, while others carried protest signs demanding the preservation of racial purity. Dr. Marcus Kane and Ambassador Velana Moonstorm announced Harold Cosmic Weatherby as they entered the Grand Council chamber. "You stand before the Circle of Nine to answer charges of unauthorized biological contamination and violation of the sacred bonding protocols." The chamber was breathtaking, its crystal walls refracting light into rainbow patterns. 9 elderly Zephyrians sat in elevated seats arranged in a circle, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. High Counselor Xeris Titanium rose from the central seat, his silver hair gleaming, and his blue skin darker than Marcus had seen on any Zephyrian. "Human," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You stand accused of corrupting one of our most distinguished diplomats through forbidden biological manipulation." "I performed emergency medical treatment," Marcus replied steadily. "Ambassador, Velana was dying from atmospheric poisoning, yet you chose to contaminate her pure Zephyrian blood with your alien essence," Xeris continued. "This violation has created an unnatural bonding that threatens the genetic integrity of our species." Prime Minister Lyra Stardust, a younger Zephyrian with kind eyes, interjected. "High Counselor, the evidence suggests this bonding occurred naturally, without manipulation or coercion." "Natural," Xeris scoffed. "There is nothing natural about mixing our sacred bloodlines with inferior alien genetics." Marcus felt anger flare through the bond, but it wasn't his own emotion. Velana stepped forward, her skin blazing with inner light. "Counselor Zaris, you forget yourself. Dr. Kane is my bonded mate and carries the protection of my house. Your house is now in question, Velana," replied Counselor Vera Nightshade, an ancient Zephyrian whose skin had taken on an almost purple hue with age. "The child you carry represents an unprecedented genetic anomaly. The child represents hope," corrected Dr. Magnus Stellarium, the Council's chief medical advisor. "My preliminary scans show remarkable compatibility between the two genetic templates. This hybrid offspring could possess enhanced capabilities from both species, enhanced capabilities that could be used against us by our enemies," Zaris argued. "How do we know this human isn't a spy, sent to infiltrate our society through biological warfare?" Marcus had heard enough. "If I may address the council." When Zaris nodded grudgingly, Marcus continued, "I am a xenobiologist. My life's work has been dedicated to understanding and preserving alien life forms. The idea that I would deliberately contaminate or harm another species goes against everything I believe." "Pretty words," Zaris sneered, "but actions speak louder. You have permanently altered one of our citizens, and she has altered me in return," Marcus replied, rolling up his sleeve to show the blue traceries spreading through his skin. "The bond works both ways. I am becoming part Zephyrian, just as she carries part of my humanity." Counselor Luna Prism, known for her wisdom, leaned forward with interest. "Fascinating, Dr. Stellarium. What are your medical findings?" "The transformation is remarkable," the medical advisor reported. "Both subjects are developing hybrid characteristics. Dr. Kane's respiratory system is adapting to process Zephyrian atmospheric conditions, while Ambassador Velana's blood chemistry now includes human immune factors that make her resistant to toxins that would normally be fatal to our species. This proves contamination has occurred," Zaris insisted. "This proves evolution in action," Prime Minister Lyra countered. "Perhaps this bonding is not an accident, but a natural step forward for both our species." The debate continued 4 hours, with the council deeply divided. Finally, ancient Councillor Vera raised her hand for silence. "There is one way to determine the truth of this bonding. If it is truly Theranos, then it cannot be hidden from the Crystal of Truth." Marcus felt Velana tense beside him. "What's the Crystal of Truth?" "An ancient Zephyrian artifact that reveals the deepest nature of any being who touches it," she whispered. "If the bond is genuine, the crystal will show our merged souls. If it's false, double quotes, if it's false, the crystal will kill you both." Zaris finished with satisfaction. "Do you accept this test, human?" Marcus looked at Velana, seeing trust and love shining in her violet eyes through their bond. "We accept." Asgards brought forth an enormous crystal that hummed with inner power. Marcus realized their entire future hung in the balance of this ancient test. Part 5. The crystal's verdict. The Crystal of Truth stood 3 meters tall in the center of the council chamber, its faceted surface pulsing with ancient energy. Marcus could feel its power resonating through his bones, and beside him, Velana's skin glowed brighter in response to the artifact's presence. "The crystal has stood in this chamber for 10,000 years, Councillor Vera explained solemnly. "It has never been wrong. Those who touch it with false hearts or corrupted bonds are destroyed instantly." High Councillor Zaris smiled coldly. "Are you certain you wish to proceed, human?" "There is no shame in admitting your deception now." Marcus squeezed Velana's hand, feeling their connection pulse with shared determination. "We proceed." Dr. Stellarium approached with scanning equipment. "Before the test, I must record baseline readings. The medical implications of this bonding are too important to lose." As the medical scans proceeded, Marcus noticed something remarkable. Where his skin showed blue traceries, Velana's skin displayed faint red patterns. They were literally becoming part of each other, their physiologies merging in ways that should have been impossible. "Fascinating," Dr. Stellarium murmured. Your cellular structures are achieving perfect harmony. This level of integration would take normal bonded pairs decades to develop, because it's artificial manipulation. Zeris insisted, natural bonds don't progress this quickly. Prime Minister Lyra studied the readouts with growing excitement. Or because this bond represents something entirely new, a true merger between species. Captain Nick stepped forward from her position along the chamber wall. If I may speak, councillors, I have observed Ambassador Velana and Dr. Kane continuously since their bonding. Their connection displays all the characteristics of authentic thoroughness, including emotional synchronization, physiological adaptation, and spiritual harmony. The testimony of a military officer carries weight, Councillor Luna acknowledged. But the crystal will provide absolute truth. Marcus and Velana approached the artifact together. Up close, its surface showed swirling patterns of light that seemed to respond to their presence. The humming grew louder, almost musical. Place your hands upon the crystal simultaneously, instructed Harold Cosmic. If your bond is true, you will see your merged souls reflected in its depths. If it is false, double quotes, we know the consequences, Velana said firmly. She looked at Marcus with such trust and love that his breath caught. Together, he confirmed. They pressed their palms against the crystal's surface simultaneously. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Power surged through Marcus like liquid lightning, but instead of pain, he felt completion. Through the crystal's surface, he could see their souls intertwined in patterns of silver and gold, pulsing with shared life force. But there was more. The crystal revealed not just their current bond, but its potential future. Marcus saw visions of their child, a being with silver hair and warm brown eyes, bridging to worlds with natural ease. He saw cities where humans and Zephyrians work side by side, their combined technologies creating wonders neither species could achieve alone. The council chamber filled with gasps as the crystal's light expanded, projecting the visions for all to see. The images showed a future where the bond between Marcus and Velana had sparked a new age of cooperation and exploration. Impossible. Zeris breathed, his opposition crumbling. He witnessed the undeniable truth. The crystal confirms it, Councillor Vera announced, her ancient voice filled with wonder. This is not only genuine thoroughness, but the strongest bond the crystal has ever recorded. Dr. Stellarium was frantically recording readings from his equipment. The energy output is off the charts. Their merged life force is actually enhancing each other's capabilities beyond normal Zephyrian limits. Prime Minister Lyra stepped forward with tears of joy glowing on her cheeks. This is what our ancestors prophesied. The coming of the bridge builders, those who would unite the stars, through love rather than conquest. As the crystal's light gradually faded, Marcus and Velana remained connected to its surface, both transformed by the experience. Marcus could now sense not just Velana's emotions, but her memories, her dreams, her very essence, and through their bond, he felt her experiencing the same connection to his inner self. High Councillor Zeris, Councillor Luna said formally, in light of the crystal's verdict, what is your position on this bonding? Zeris stood silent for a long moment, his worldview clearly shattered by what he had witnessed. Finally, he spoke. The crystal cannot lie. If it declares this bond sacred, then I was wrong. He approached Marcus and Velana with visible effort. Dr. Kane, I offer my formal apology. Your bond with Ambassador Velana is clearly blessed by the highest powers. Apology accepted, Marcus replied graciously, though he could feel Velana's lingering weariness through their connection. Prime Minister Lyra clapped her hands together in celebration. Then it is decided. Dr. Marcus Kane is formally recognized as a citizen of the Zephyrian Republic and bonded mate to Ambassador Velana. Their child shall be welcomed as the first of a new generation. As the council session concluded with ceremony and celebration, Marcus found himself overwhelmed by the rapid changes in his life. A week ago, he had been a simple medical officer. Now he was the bonded mate of an alien ambassador. Expectant, father to a hybrid child, and apparently a key figure in a prophesied new age of interstellar cooperation. No regrets, Valana asked softly as they watched the twin moons rise over the crystalline city. Marcus pulled her close, marveling at how perfectly she fit against his side. None whatsoever, though I think our real adventure is just beginning. Through their bond, he felt her laughter like music in his soul. Then let's see what the future holds for the bridge builders. As the stars wheeled overhead, Marcus realized that sometimes the most important decisions in life happened in moments of crisis, when there was no time to think, only time to act from the heart. His choice to save Velana's life had changed everything, but looking at their intertwined future reflected in her violet eyes, he knew he would make the same choice again in any universe. The blood that had saved her life had also bound their souls, creating something entirely new in the galaxy. And this was only the beginning of their story.